Alright everyone, it's been a while since I've done a video. I just uploaded a video probably a couple hours ago on some wrenches that I just bought, and it's about a 50-minute video. I thought I'd go over some of the older stuff that I have here. A lot of people say I only do reviews on new stuff, and that might be true, but I do have some old stuff. I do use my stuff even though a lot of people don't think I do. I just have an overflow amount of it, and this is some of my older stuff that I have here. The back here I have 1/4 inch all the way up to 1 inch and snap-on impact sockets, and those are shallow and deep. You can see they've gotten a little rusty from condensation on cold mornings. You can see that as a snap-on socket. Over here I have a set of SK sockets. I've had these for years. These go from 1/4 inch all the way up to 1 inch as well, and standard and shallow. Sitting on top of this is actually an intermediate deep set of impacts, which I bought these to supplement the shallow and deeps that I have, because I didn't want to spend the money on the snap-on ones for intermediate deep for standard that I very rarely use. Like I said, this SK set I've had for years. I bought these trays to kind of organize them a little bit and put it in one of my drawers for overflow. This set right here is a snap-on set. This is a 12-point set all the way up to 21. It says 20 there on the rail, but it's actually got a 21 in it. I don't have a 20 12-point. Would never use it. Goes all the way down to 6mm. Have them in standard or standard depth and deep depth. This set right here is an interesting set. There's been a lot of controversy about this. This is the Mac Precision Torque. This is the 3/8 set. I had this set in 1/4 inch and 3/8. I've actually had this set warranted as well. The particular set, they weren't making it anymore that I had. They couldn't match the sockets, so what they ended up doing was actually ended up giving me a new set. They gave me back the cost of what I paid for them, and then I paid the difference in what the new set was. So I ended up getting a new set. I don't have an actual 20 or 21 in this kit. Just my snap-on impact swivel fits in there. I have a reducer on this side. Moving on down, I have some swivel sockets here. These are 6-point, or these are 12-point here, up to 1 inch. And it does not go down to 1/4 inch, but goes down to 5/16. I have my universal in there at the end where the 1/4 inch goes. On this end, I have them from 5/16, like I said. These are 6-point, all the way up to 1 inch, which I don't use a whole lot of. This is standard, and it's part of the reason why it's in this drawer. It's kind of an overflow. These Mac Precision Torque I don't use a whole lot. I usually use them on stripped out bolts, because once these become wallowed out, they're about useless. If you use these every day, you wear this flank drive system out in it. It takes a lot to wear it out, but I usually use my snap-on sockets for running into a problem or a head or bolts rounded off. I used to resort to these. I try not to wear these out. Right here I have a set of intermittent deep Matcos, or actually Mac tools. You see that one got arced on something. I've had this set for years. I probably had this set since the early 90s. I use this set quite a bit. I've actually replaced this with a Matco set, because they're just a little bit deeper, a little more versatile. I have a Mac set of chrome sockets here in 6-point. Go from 6mm all the way up to 24mm. I believe this set only went to 22 originally. I supplemented a couple of sockets to get more sockets in it. I don't use this set so much anymore. My Mac tool guy actually passed away The gentleman that actually gave me a start in the business, I bought a lot of tools from him, and in the very beginning, actually bought this particular toolbox right here probably 26 years ago from him, before he passed away. And I just, as they started being more and more like Matco and just not having, I don't know, that more Chinese tools or import tools, I just kind of veered away from them and started doing the snap-on thing. This is a set of spline sockets that Matco offered at one time. They first come out at one of the tool shows. I don't use these a whole bunch. You can see I have used them. They're a little walled out in the corners. These will come in handy on certain fasteners that you just don't have the correct size for. Sometimes spline Torx and other things. So they come in handy. You can see over here I have a set of 12-point Matco ones. These go from 10 to 19. This was a supplement set that I had. During the early 90s, a lot of head bolts and stuff were 12-point. Certain rod bolts on Toyotas were 12-point. Dry shafts and Fords were 12-point and stuff like that. So I bought this set. It got me by for a while. I bought this 12-point swivel set. I actually bought this from the Matco guy. I think I got one which is an oddball, which is this Armstrong spline. And the rest should be pin type. And this one's locked up as well. That was the main reason for warranting, is because it was locked up. These tend to get broke really easy with a pin. So I ended up using one 1/2-inch drive with a 3/8 reducer. We got an empty rail here just for storage. Used to have some miscellaneous sockets in here that I took back to work for 1/4-inch bits and stuff like that, 5/16 bits, and just holders and a couple other swivel sockets I had. This is actually a snap-on swivel 1/2-inch drive. I've got some 1/2-inch old sockets here. These are snap-on. That's a 13/16 all the way up to, this is an 1.5 max socket. It's not even an impact socket, but these are old sockets that I've had over time and I use for pinion sockets and other things. I've definitely got my use out of them. These are some I bought one at a time or bought used off the truck. Here is another socket I bought. I think this was for a pinion nut or something. I can't remember. But I bought this socket, and this is one of the extras that I had in there that I use from time to time. Next on the list right here is my snap-on. These right here are metric. These are my swivels. Like I said, these are overflow. I have a full set of these at work. I believe this is a 14 and 15 that I had extra. 1/4-inch to 9/16 here, which I don't use a whole lot of standard anymore. So they're kind of here in my overflow. You can see at one point in time they did get used quite a bit. Here's my deep universals. They go from 3/8 all the way up to 3/4. Once again, standard, don't use them a whole lot anymore. Here's my standard swivels, my snap-on swivels. Once again, these are something that I don't use a whole lot of anymore. Used to back in the day. Real common for oil pan bolts on old Tornados and stuff like that. Get up in there beside the axle and get the oil pan out. Just don't see the standard sizes on stuff anymore. Over here we have 3/8 all the way up to 3/4, and this is my impact swivels. Standard, like I said, this is in my overflow because I don't use them a whole bunch anymore. This is a socket I bought. This was discontinued. This is new old stock. This is a 22mm semi-deep swivel. Can't buy these anymore. The last one I broke. They gave me my money back on it because they didn't make it anymore, and I used the money on the truck to purchase something else. But since I found this on eBay, I got this in my overflow. just so I have it. I believe I got 3 of these altogether. Every time that one pops up on eBay, I buy it because you can no longer get this. Years ago on the Torxes and stuff like that, used to use it to get the motor mount bolt out without taking the air conditioner off. This socket was a lifesaver, and the reason why you needed the 22, because sometimes the 21 was factory size, but when you got the aftermarket mount, they would put a 22 millimeter bolt on it. So, but this came in real handy, especially if you're on flat rate. It'd take the time of doing 1.5 a day to doing it in less than an hour. So this was a great socket to have. Just wanted to complete my set, so just kind of looked on eBay, found it, bought it. Don't use it a whole lot as much as I used to, but I have it if I ever need it. Here's the rest of the semi-deep. I believe it goes from 7 millimeter all the way up to 24. I do use these occasionally. I have a smaller set that I use at work. Not as common. I usually use impact ones because most of the time I'm using them to do exhaust bolts and things of that nature. Move that rail out of the way. Here is a set of 12-point standard snap-on sockets, probably 3/16 and 9/16. Don't use these a whole lot anymore, mainly on oil pans and 12-point bolts, and used to use it on some of the small block Chevy stuff when they used to put aftermarket hardware on them, and a few other miscellaneous things, but don't really use them that much anymore. That's why they're in the overflow. This set is my 12-point set. I believe it goes from 5 millimeter all the way up to 14 millimeter, and these are 12-point. Don't use these that often. The main reason I use 12 points even in the 3/8, if you notice I got them in 3/8 as well, is the position that you can get them in. So a lot of times if you're rotating it at 6-point, you can only move it so many degrees in between those 6 points. And 12 points you can move it twice as less, more or less. But if the swivel is binding, you can rotate it a little bit more and get past that and be able to use it. That's what I like about 12-point. I don't necessarily use it to break things loose or anything like that, but in tight spots when this thing binds up, usually you can rotate it a little bit further and it gets it past the bind and you're able to move it a little bit further, and then when it binds again you can flip it over and move it a little bit more. So it gives you a little more access to turn something. Not something that you have to have. 6 points is definitely better, doesn't strip stuff out, but 12 points kind of nice in tight areas. This is my 6-point set of Snap-on Universals, and this set goes from 5 millimeter all the way up to 15 millimeter. You can see I got a little tape on that one. Use that one quite a bit. I use these for motor mounts and everything else. Usually break the bolt loose, and I use this to get up in there and spin the bolts out instead of fighting trying to get a 3/8 swivel up in there or whatever. This set back here, this set is a Mac set. Like I said, I used to be a big Mac fan. This set goes all the way up to 14. I believe it starts off at 5 millimeter. I don't believe they're even offering this set anymore. That's a 14. But this is an intermediate deep, or actually 1/4 inch deep, I guess you would call it. And these do come in handy. Usually the 13, the 14, 12, a few other ones. Really don't need all of these, but back in the day I bought this full set. It was reasonable, and like I said, the Mac tool guy always treated me well, so I always bought a lot of things from him. So that kind of does it for this drawer. But close that one and that one over here. See if we can get that back in there. Let's see what kind of garbage we have in this one. Got some Snap-on Torx wrenches. Had these for years. Used to use them for wheel cylinders and stuff of that nature. Don't use them so much anymore, but occasionally I still use them. Sitting on top of that is 16-point square drive. This was made by Vim, I believe, packaged for Mac tools. Got some more deep sockets. These are actually snap-on. These are only the 4 sizes that they made at the particular time I bought them. I don't even know if they even still make them. I believe these are all metric. 10, 11, 12, and 13, I think. And then, let's see here. Back in the day, used to use a lot of Fords that had the large intake bolt and the 5.8s. I held the intake on the trucks. And that's what this custom socket was for. And this one right here, these are a few sizes in between that I used to use that were tamper-proof, as well as a few others that I purchased. These are all snap-on ones. But these were all specific for something. Steering columns, ignition switches, a lot to do with Fords. Don't use these so much anymore, but they came in handy, and they still do from time to time. It's a T60 Torx. I've actually replaced this one with a snap-on one that I use at work. It's been a little bit more reliable, a lot easier to get warrantied. Got a snap-on swivel set here, actually extension set. These are swivels, ball type head. Some locking Matco swivels, which suck. It's a 3-piece set. These are some Torx that I purchased for doing some transit brakes. I have a number of different sizes of these and different lengths I bought. They come in handy as far as torquing some of the transit vans, getting down into the hub to take the rotor off. I only usually use one size on these. Like I said, I bought a couple sets of them. They break, I just throw them away. They're import sockets. I can't remember who made them, but they're just Chinese ones. I believe I showed you the Allen ones I had. These are the Torx, probably T15 all the way up to T45. These are long snap-on ones. Did a review on these, on the snap-on ones, but these are actually the SK ones, which I broke the top of this one off. One of these, where to go? Actually, these are my snap-on ones. I didn't break the top off of these. These are standard. The ones I did the review on are metric, but these are my standard set. These are tamper-proof, or E-Torx is what they are. This is the old Mac tools type. These come in handy for earlier ignition switches and S10s, I believe. But other than that, they're about useless because they're too long. But they do come in handy because sometimes they're very slim. They're just too long. I believe there's some Pittsburgh junk from Harbor Freight. I use on my impact driver, my half-inch impact hand driver. You see I twisted that one up. I must have broke my snap-on one and resorted to this one because it's a spare with a lifetime warranty. So I get my snap-on fixed. So these do come in handy. I wouldn't say they're the best thing in the world, but they're nice to have just for a backup. You've probably seen this in the toolbox with sockets too. This is an old desk and bag dryer out of a condenser. I usually throw these in my drawers, try to prevent my sockets from rusting. So it tends to work really good. On days that there's a lot of condensation in the air, really foggy, it's not going to absorb all of it, but for the most part this will keep your sockets from rusting. Throw a couple of those in there. This is a duplicate set of the wobbles. The only difference is these aren't wobble, these are regular square drive extensions. more Matco extensions, locking extensions, which are garbage. I don't care if you buy these from Snap-on, I don't care if you get them from Matco. This particular design I find is garbage. Usually the pin falls out of it and they end up falling off the end. That little tab breaks on it, don't lock on the socket no more. In my opinion, they're garbage. That is my 3/8 set right there. And then move some of this other crap back over here. And we'll get into some of this mess on this side. Particular time, the Snap-on man owed me some money, which is very rare. I had a credit with him, and I bought a duplicate set of stubby triple square, which you just seen back there in the Mac. This is a duplicate set to it. These are made, see the part number on it, they're Blue Point, but they're actually made by Vim Tools. So that's just a duplicate set of those. Right here we have my wobble extensions. You've seen the 3/8 ones over here, which are the regular drive, 3/8 drive, and these are the 3/8 wobble. Tray broke on these, so I ended up putting them on a rail here. These used to have a couple of regular spark plug sockets, which ended up taking to work, which I needed. Move on down here. This is a custom socket that I made. You can probably see it in there. I believe it says 15/16. I made this for a Jaguar to get a knock sensor out without pulling the intake. So this is a custom socket. Probably never use it again. This is my Armstrong stuff. Goes from 10 to 19. Low profile. I also have it in 1/4 inch, which I believe this goes from 5 all the way up to 13 millimeter. Some Snap-on Torx multipliers. The particular time I bought these, they skipped sizes. So at a later date, I bought another set made by Mac, which goes from 10 to 19. I found that these are really bulky. If you look at this, look at that on there, how fat those things are. Kind of ridiculous. You have to excuse the light. I'm kind of out in my garage here. This is my Matco pass-through ratchet, which is for my Armstrong stuff. As you see right here. Not hard to do one-handed. Snap-on ratchet, which I've warrantied a million times. Haven't had the best luck with this thing. Usually ends up locking up. Old school Craftsman ratchet, used to use for spark plugs, locking so it doesn't fall off. Kind of a fine tooth ratchet. Not sure if they even make it anymore. Old school Snap-on 100 tooth, the ball swivel head, 360 head. It's about the nicest ratchet you could get back in the day as far as a fine tooth. Ratchet I warranted, which is an 88 or 80 tooth or an 88. I can't remember. But this is a newer style ratchet that I warranted. These are some Torx, 5-point Torx. I don't use these a whole lot. I used to use these on Hondas. The main thing I used them on was taking apart the IAC motor on a Honda. Used to use them on some seat belts of other stuff, but not that common anymore. Brand new ratchet I warranted. This is an 88 tooth. My Snap-on man. Got a new Snap-on man. I ended up going through and actually getting a lot of stuff warranted, so it's kind of nice. And this is my old school Mac ratchet for my 3/8 stuff for my Armstrong, which is the pass-through piece. Oop, see that popped out of there. back in there. But that's for all my pass-through stuff. We can move on up here. Some double universal spark plug sockets, 5/8 and 13/16, which I hardly ever use. It's a great idea, but they don't work all that great, in my opinion anyways. Some more 12-point stuff. At a particular time, they only offer it in 4 sizes. When I bought them, they offer a larger variety from Snap-on now. I believe they offer this in a kit. So I just haven't really had to use to buy any other ones aside from this because I supplemented it with the Vim stuff. Got an old school 1/2-inch ratchet here. You hear how coarse that sucker is. Should have got that one warranted too. This one's had a little bit of a rough life. Here's my 3/8. I got this one warranted. This one is a fine tooth. So very happy about that. Used to have one with a used on the back side of it. Used to be a used to say Snap-on with a plug in the back of it. I hated that ratchet. I also got this one warranted, which is an 18-inch 1/2-inch drive flex head. That's a fine tooth as well. And then over here we got some carburetor tools. Some old school stuff here. There's a flex head one. And then I have another one that's practically almost brand new down in there. Believe it or not, I use those quite a bit. I use these for blend door motors. So these come in real handy. They're not expensive. I want to say they're $25 from Snap-on. So this could, you know, make your day go a whole lot easier as far as, you know, putting a socket on the end of this thing and climbing up in the dashboard and being able to turn a blend door motor out and not have to fight with it, kink your neck. So occasionally we still have carburetors come in, very rare though. Probably see me move this to the side. This is my Armstrong pass-through ratchet. It's not a flex head, it's just a fixed one. I believe they don't make this anymore. They're completely out of business, and Gear Wrench has more or less changed the design on it because I believe Dan Hart has bought them out, Apex Group. So I don't believe they make this anymore. So this is some old school stuff. And then we just have extensions, pass-through extensions for that ratchet. Probably skipped over this guy. There's a dry shaft socket. Tend to wear these out quite a bit because you can't get on it perfectly straight. So a lot of times it wallows the ends of them out. I've had both of these warranted. This one's been used quite a bit. This one probably needs warranted. You can see how they wallow out. And then they still put 12 points on a lot of dry shafts. So the Fords anyways. So yeah, there's quite a few things I could use that on. And I still have my old school torque wrench here. I still use this on a daily basis. This is the one that used to turn off if you grabbed it by the end cap. You see it still works. But this is my day-to-day one that I use for all my miscellaneous stuff and plastic intakes and so forth. Get it turned off here. There we go. I believe we skipped over these. These are extra long. I believe 10-inch maybe. Spark plug sockets, 12-point. This one is a 5/8, 12-point. Don't use these a whole lot. Thought I would. Mainly use the 6-inch Snap-on one that I have. Usually put an extension on it. So I don't know. These weren't very expensive. I believe they were CTA. I wouldn't buy them or recommend them to anybody. They're kind of garbage. They need to be probably 2 inches shorter. And they would probably be perfect. Probably around 7 inches maybe. 8 inches instead of 6 inches like the snap-on one. Snap-on one tends to be a little too short. Usually put a 2-inch extension on, it's about perfect. So if those are 8 inches, that'd be great. I think those are 10 inches, so they're about useless. Probably see me move this out of the way. This is an old school ratchet, FAR 72, I believe. What happened, the bushing used to wallow out in there. And I have a back half of a shell to repair. One, I've already bought a couple of these, and this is an extra that I had. This ratchet is slower than crap, not very fast, but it was a good ratchet. So, I mean, I keep parts for it. Keep it going. Mainly everything I use now is cordless. Got some old snap-on pliers still in the tray that I haven't used that much because I have duplicates of these. This right here is my nitpick set. I had to replace this set. Been missing these for a long time. You can see I've had this for a while. I got a big old hole in there. Pliers, channel locks, old school long channel locks. Or these should be Blue Point. Let's see here. Yeah, these are Blue Point. These were made by Imperial. Oh. Get a little light back here. And these are channel lock ones. This is about the longest that you could get in the store at the time. You couldn't get them that long. I bought these off the Snap-on truck probably in the 90s. Bought these probably at a Home Depot or something like that. Been very useful. Look, I got old pieces of timing belt in here. What I used to do is wrap these around the timing belt gear, tape them on, and then use my channel locks on it to hold the gear so I could break it loose. Different cogs, different ones. Just cut a section of the time belt off, that way I didn't damage the gear when I was holding it with my channel locks. Used to do the same thing with belts. Actually, you can fold a belt over on itself and actually do the same thing and be able to break the crankshaft bolt loose. Old school pliers for crimping terminals and computer terminals. Pair of pliers I found underneath the hood that are cheap. Just haven't used them or utilized them for anything. I believe Doyle makes the same set now. Had the set for years. It's a crimping set. Updated these with removable bits or whatever you want to call them here, tooling, so I can do different things with them. Set of snap-on ignition pliers. You can see they've seen better days. Used to use these to pull orifices with, do other miscellaneous things. Pair of modified channel locks. I believe I modified these to bend line with, I think is what it was. Old Craftsman set. And most of the other stuff I've taken to work. I'm getting into some wrenches here. Long pattern wrenches from 3/8 to 1 inch. All the way up to 1 3/8 here. Short wrenches, have them up to 3/4 here, but these are spline, where those are 12 point. Got some Cornwell standard SAE crow's feet. Also got them in 12 point. I can't remember the brand of these. These were bought at Home Depot. I don't remember the brand. My line wrenches, my 4-way wrenches, and my Matco wrenches, ratcheting wrenches, which this is my favorite set, but I just don't use these anymore because just don't have that much ASC stuff anymore, so just don't use them that often. So that's kind of why they're in overflow. These are 2 duplicate wrenches. This is an old wrench. Ended up finding the correct wrenches on eBay to complete my set. Get into some metric stuff up here. Got some metric gear wrench stuff. Got some metric midget wrenches I did a review on. This is a set of gear wrench Torx ratcheting wrenches, which I've removed a lot of intake manifolds with these to get the studs out so you can pull the head. come in very handy. I only use the smaller sizes, but very, very useful. That is my set from 10 to 19 as far as my snap-on line wrenches. This is an import set. I believe I imported these from Australia. These go from 10 to 19, but they're 12-point crow's foot. Once again, they come in very handy. A lot of times if you can't get in the position you want to get into, this gives you another couple of degrees to move that to get a turn on the bolt. Whereas 6-point, your next turn would be all the way out here. So it would put you in the middle of that instead of out here. So these come in handy. A lot of people don't believe in them, but they definitely come in handy as far as being in a tight spot. 7 to 19 in my long pattern for my snap-on. These are non-flank drive. That's the reason why they're not in my toolbox at work, because I have long flank drive ones. Some Harbor Freight stuff here, Icon stuff from 10 to 19, and S wrenches, which are standard, which is why they're here. I don't use those so much. This is 10 to 19 as far as, I believe they call these aviation wrenches. You can see I have a large variety of these. One thing that aggravates me about these wrenches, I don't know if it's hard, if you can hardly see it or not, but they're bent. I mean, you really want to talk about quality control. That's not the camera. Man, that sucker is bent. And I bought it off the truck like that. I even took it back and we tried to get a different one that was straighter, and it was bent. Talk about quality control, how Snap-on's the greatest and everything. I seen straighter wrenches from Taiwan. Old school ignition module right here. Some guys don't know what this is. This is a TIF module. Used to change a ton of these. So you used to have a pigtail wiring come off this with this connector, so you didn't have to pull the module off. You just tap into the pip signal and be able to plug this guy in and fire it up. I'm not sure what happened to the pigtail for it, but this was a module that we used to use to find out if they run. I have to go through a bunch of diagnostics. Old Mac tool receipt, been in here since the 90s. Probably never see another handwritten one like that again. That's from Ron Baker. I got a set of these too. I think these are garbage too. These are Aldwin wrench. These are like a locking wrench, line wrench, ratcheting. I haven't done nothing but strip stuff out with these things. They came in, did demonstration on them. And they work great on regular bolts, but they said you could use these on line wrenches, and that's bullshit. I had these in standard and metric. Not overly thrilled with them. Wouldn't recommend them to anybody, and I don't even know if they still make them. I believe it does that for this drawer. Other than these guys here, I forget who makes these. These are flex head crow's foot. Vim offers these. They weren't making them for Vim. It's a place in Canada. I forget what the name of the tool company is, but makes these. I wasn't impressed with them. More or less kind of stuck with them. They're reasonably cheap. I believe Harbor Freight was even carrying them for a while, but there's a reason why Harbor Freight even discontinued them, because they ain't that great. I think in the other drawer we have a set of those as well. These are my overflow of crow's feet. I believe up to 22 millimeter. Yeah, we have some ignition wrenches here that I missed, and more Aldwin wrenches, which are standard. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend those to anybody. I believe they're garbage in my opinion, but that's just me. We went through that. Some extractor stuff, ball joint adapters for four-wheel drive, some Fowler micrometers, Everybody knows what this is. Fuel injection kit, dummy lights, vacuum gauge, dummy plugs for pulling, some valve spring suppressors. Most people won't even know what that is, but that is for the old 2.3s. You used to have to do a bunch of cylinder heads on them, and the tappets were always slap wore out. And this guy would go in there and you remove the tappet or the roller so you could get the camshaft and replace the camshaft, because the camshaft was always ate up in the 2.3 Rangers. It's old school. I don't remember if this one's for 2.7. I think it is for Chrysler. 3.7 maybe. 3.7, 4.7. This one is for the Fords, pulling the valve spring out. A lot of times you use this for coming in with a misfire because it spit a rocker and have to put a lifter in or whatever, and usually that's what I use to put that back in instead of wrestling it. Bought that off of Summit. It's like dirt cheap. Knocked the pin out of it, put a nut and a bolt in it so I could flip it in whatever direction I wanted. And I even used this on 3.7s too. Didn't work as good as what it should, but if you knock that pin out, you can manipulate that and flip this around whatever direction you want. Bought a couple of these. Probably got a couple of these laying around. The old Honda crankshaft pulley holder, the pin for 2.3s, I believe, on the VTEC. Shims, another valve spring tool for small block Chevy. And valve seals. Everybody knows what these are. These are bearing spreaders. 951, 952, 953, I believe. CJ 953, CJ 950, which I had warranty because I broke it. Universal pinion puller. I believe this is an Amflow one, cheap one. Works okay. I got a snap-on at work that I use. It isn't as big as this one. And then I have a SP Tools one, which is low profile, which I've been using the crap out of, which works really well. Some people won't know what this is, but it's old school 2.8 liter. Used to pull the engine forward to do spark plugs in the back. I've wrecked quite a few of these. You can see that kind of shiny, maybe some antifreeze on the end. Tore a few of those screws up. But this goes in place of the motor mount so you can pull the motor forward. A lot of stuff is missing out of this drawer because I took it to work. Block tester kit. Oop, got my finger in the way. Block tester kit. Just more overflow. Power steering puller kit from Mac Tools. AC puller clutch kit. Steering wheel puller kit. O-rings. Snap-on power steering puller, which if anybody owns one of these, they're garbage. The only reason I bought this is because it was low profile. I've tore this thing up so many times. You can see the bolts all buggered up on it. These were just poor quality, the steel on them and everything else. See, that's broke. No Mac guy around to get it warranted. Just garbage. This right here is probably the best power steering puller you can buy. I believe they discontinued it, made this all one piece where you can flip this around. But Snap-on is still making a puller set. It just isn't based off of this design. Harmonic balancer puller set. Actually, this is an installer set. Use this for many things. Use this to put pinions on and stuff like that, but this is made to pull the axles in. The old Tempos. Had this for years. Used to do a bunch of trainings and stuff in this. They have dual pans and rear main seals. And this came in handy, pulling the axles back through so you didn't have to beat on them with a hammer. Adapter set for Hemi. Harmonic balancer puller set for Chrysler. Been retrofitted for GM and Ford, and that's what this bag of goodies is right here. It's all the extra pieces. Let's keep fishing around in here. And another pulley set. Our seal set. Use this to put in accurate seals. Don't use this one so much. This one I use a ton. This is Honda Toyota. This is a homemade one for some crank seals and some other stuff that I've done. Another custom piece. A few extra custom pieces in there. Nuts, bolts, and other stuff I've modified. One thing you probably noticed in here, probably wondered what it was, is this is made to pull bushing through on alternators. A lot of people like to beat on them with a hammer and break the bracket. Put this on here and you pull the bushing through so you can get the alternator on. Got two different sizes, depending on what hole it is. Just swap the bushing that I made to pull it through. Something I'll probably never use again, 3.8 GM. This is actually cooler bolts is what this is. I do use this occasionally on other stuff because it's 6mm on the end, so it does work. But that's basically what this was for, was to actually pull the rubber dampeners on 3.8 liters. More spark plug stuff for pulling spark plugs. These are additional parts that I bought from cheaper kits to replace some broken stuff or to mod in case it didn't fit down on the hole. These are custom bushings that I made, or studs that I made for installing harmonic balancers that didn't come with the kit for Chryslers, Fords, and mainly Chryslers. And then a GM one I made here. I believe this one's cracked. I need to grind this one back out and weld it back up. A 1/2 inch on this end. You see I squared and slotted to fit up in the tool. And this is the bolt itself. Like I said, I need to grind that back out, clamp it in the vise, put a couple tacks on it so it's square again, and weld it back up. The same thing with that one, homemade. And here is another one that was made. Don't remember what I used this one for. And this one is a Chrysler one. I've had to weld this one up a couple times. 1/2 inch on one end, and whatever the import thread is for the Chrysler 2.4 liters, and I can't remember what the other one was that used that particular thread. This is more or less a spark plug tool, threading kit. This brake tool, which is probably outdated, which I bought a different kit that has more adapters in it. Allen sockets, I usually don't use it that's big. I have a complete snap-on set. Not overly thrilled with the Matco ones. Had them for years, just never really used them. Like I said, I always use the snap-on ones. Some people won't know what that is. It's a lapping tool. Lap many valves in. Slide hammer set, which Snap-on wants ridiculous money for, which I know I didn't pay anywhere near a ridiculous price what they're asking. And unfortunately I can't get this drawer open. I got a box stuck in the way. Drawer full of miscellaneous crap and sockets. You probably won't even know what they're for. This is replace the Toyota wheel bearings. This is an uncommon one, but there's another one that's really common, which is this 4 one. This I just had to replace because it broke the pins off of it. Bunch of axle sockets. This is a tool for doing wheel bearings and I want to say it's Nissan and a few others. You see over there we got some sockets for 4-wheel drive stuff, ball joint sockets, axle pullers, more cutoff tools for pipe, and I got a ton more sockets in the back. Sorry about that, I got my hand over there. More wrenches. As I said, I got old school wrenches. Gear wrench, old school gear wrenches with adapters, spinner wheels, more gear wrench, hammers, more hammers and overflow sockets and overflow wrenches and miscellaneous stuff I found in cars, duplicates and extras. That is a SK swivel set and SK 1/4" swivel set. My flaring tool, bending tools, old Maglite, stamps, custom socket for a Volvo gas tank that I made. Very back there I got an SK set, which is shallow oil up to 1.5 inches. And this is all my 1/2-inch sockets, my Matco sockets. Actually, these are all Matco sockets except for this set here, which is Mac, and all the additional sockets that I'm missing that skipped in those sets. And that's about it. Just some junk in that drawer. An old timing light that I'll probably never use again. Battery charger, old scan tool, some other miscellaneous stuff. That's about it. I got the top box to go through. There is some in that bottom drawer, but I'm not able to get it open because I have a tote here in the way, which is full of machinist tools when I left the shop. I'm going to call it there. Like I said, that's my MB1700 box. And this is some of the stuff that I haven't taken to work. And people wondered if I got used tools or not, or if I use my tools. Yes, I do. There's your answer. Alright. Guys, have a good one. Give me a like, share, and subscribe. If you see anything in the video you want to do a video on, let me know. Drop a question mark below and I'll try to answer it. Thank you.